Java Cafe, Java Fam. Good morning. Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java Fam.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Today is Tuesday, April 30th, 2024, and you are here in the Java Cafe. I'm going to call this Tech Tuesday. This morning, we have the wonderful folks from Tech Goes Home. They are not a stranger to the Java Cafe. Both Marvin and I believe Caitlin have joined us before here in the Java Cafe. So they're coming in to catch us up on what they're doing around, when a lot of people may have an opinion about putting this E word behind a lot of things, but digital equity. And there's a lot going on with AI and different things in our society. So they work to make sure that families in the most marginalized communities have the tech that they need. They take it home after getting some support from their program. So without further ado, because we are in sort of for a quick shot this morning, we're going to bring in Caitlin and also Marvin from Tech Goes Home. Glad to have both of them with us this morning. Caitlin, we'll start with you. Greet the folks, say hello. And let me think of a quick question icebreaker. Describe the state of our digital equity in one word.
Yeah. Well, welcome. Thank you guys for having me. I'm super excited to be here. My name's Caitlin Schubert. I'm the Advocacy Manager with Tech Goes Home. And I would say to kind of sum up where we're at, one end I'm optimistic and the other end I'm worried. So I know we're gonna get into that, but I would say very conflicted.
Absolutely. Okay, so that can be, excuse me, the one word. Marvin, good morning, sir. Reverend, Doctor.
Good morning. Good morning.
Just genius. How are you, sir?
Pleasure, man. Good to see you, brother. Thank you for having us again on the show, as Caitlin indicated. Marvin Veney, Chief External Affairs and Advocacy Officer here at Tech Goes Home.
Okay, Marvin, we'll start with you.
And real quickly,
your word.
I just want to add to Caitlin's point. The word I would use is disappointing.
Disappointing. Okay, so
yeah.
Let's start there. Set some context from both of you. Marvin, you first, and then Caitlin, you, and then let's go into, again, what it is that you guys are doing to address it. And so disappointing, why so, Marvin? Where I'm sure you have some stats and numbers nationally, locally.
Yeah. So as we know, we're here to talk about the Affordable Connectivity Program that began in 2021, where the federal government passed legislation that would create subsidies for those mostly impacted by this digital divide. It would afford them a rate of about $30 or so off of their bill, and it would give them also a packaging from internet service providers that would provide them with a good bandwidth, if you will, to utilize the internet and to be engaged. That program was scheduled to be maintained for some time and is expiring in the next 30 days due to there was not the finances, the funding was not continued, if I should say. And so the work that we're doing is in an effort to try to mitigate some of those challenges that those 366,000 who were enrolled in Massachusetts will not be as impacted as they could be. And so Caitlin and I are doing some heavy work along with other team members, Victoria and many others on our team who are diving deeply into the work in an effort to not only advocate for these individuals, but also identify solutions. And so I'm going to let Caitlin jump in at this point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's great. And speaking to where Marvin left off, this in Massachusetts, this covers about 18% of households don't have access to broadband internet. And then another 16% don't even have access to a desktop or laptop computer. And so when we're talking about this issue, we're talking about, hundreds of thousands of households. This isn't a small number. And this subsidy has been incredible to a lot of households. It's been their way to get access to the world, essentially. And so to see it go, it's going to have a really lasting impact. We've made so much progress, and when I say I'm conflicted, it's on one end, we've really shown an investment to this. On the other end, we're going backwards by losing this program. And with that, even just through this, we've seen a lot of organizations and coalitions come together in support of this. We've seen bipartisan support of this bill, which I think is really rare to see in this climate. And so, this program was only meant to be temporary. And now we're having these really hard questions of how do we make something like this permanent?
So what let's jump in. So what is it that we need to do? Do we need to contact legislators? Presumably this money was, as Marvin said, context federal sort of support, which is very interesting when it comes to budget and things like that. So what is it that we can do? How can we support what you guys are doing to mitigate this? Because it's just, I'm sitting here and I kind of had the thought to myself, Jimmy, watch your face, because to hear you say that, the percentages of folks that don't have broadband, the percentages of folks that don't have a desktop or a laptop, we're very privileged. And it's one would presume that in 2024, every household, that's interesting.
It's a norm. You would think it's a norm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the reality is that there are many of those who look like us who are using their cell phones as their internet or their digital access, if you will. They are filling out job applications off of it. They are completing homework assignments. They're doing telehealth appointments. You name it. Those devices that sit in the palm of our hands are actually more of a computer device to many people in urban communities than ever before. And right now, what we are working towards is really trying to end the digital divide by ensuring that we can get the devices in people's hands, the actual training, so they learn how to use the device, and then affording them the internet access so they can actually tap into the tools and get into this world, this digital world, in a way that makes them comfortable, confident, and able to actually succeed. And so when you think about this work, particularly around this affordable connectivity program, it's disheartening because not only is the federal government saying that they're not as not only are they not saying that they're not as valued at this time, but they're actually letting them know that we're going to, as Caitlin's point already said, they're actually saying we're going to push this thing backwards. So we're not going to fund it. Bless you, I believe. We're not going to fund it, but we're also not going to provide an alternative plan for it as well. And we're looking for solutions to ensure that the people that we serve don't go backwards. Right. We are fortunate, and I will say this, we are very fortunate in Massachusetts, particularly, to have congressional leaders who are fighting for this. As you know, Senator Ed Markey has been on the front lines. Caitlin had the fortune of being able to participate with him in some of his advocacy work. And I actually was on the Hill recently, advocating as well.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And so we are fighting the good fight. And we have leaders here like Senator Warren and others who are exercising their right to push this agenda forward. But there are many, Republicans who stalled this in Congress and did not allow this to get onto the floor. And like we do have bipartisan support, but we didn't have enough bipartisan support. And if we had realized the magnitude, or taken a step back and thought about the reactions and the responses and the challenges that people would face, then I think that congressional leaders would have made a different choice. And it's our hope that they will still fix this. I'm still having faith that the system will be fixed. The problem is that how long is it going to take us to address this?
And so let's jump into that. How do we address it, support you all? It sounds like at the federal level, budgetarily speaking, the decision has sort of been made, thanks to the advocacy of, Senator Markey, Congresswoman Presley, and others. Caitlin, what do we do? What do we do to help mitigate this and stop the impact? And then I have a question for both of you, because I can't hear about this inequity and just wonder about a few things given our present
Right.
time.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So right now where we are at currently with ACP is I think we're in this unfortunate place where we're not going to see the funding extended. And I think what we are afraid of, and I think a lot of advocates in this space are afraid of, is that we're going to stop talking about it. We're going to say, okay, well, we lost, ACP didn't get funded, now we move on. And I think to the contrary, that this is where we push even harder. The Universal Service Fund is the entity that essentially funds the ACP, which is Affordable Connectivity Program. And that has been in need of an overhaul for a while now. And so the question I think that will shift once we get through ACP is what happens to the Universal Service Fund and how do we continue to fund this program? There is a lot of talk currently in who's going to fund it. And how do we put money in? And, the question always comes of like, well, how are we going to afford this program? And I really hate that question because I think that just lacks creativity because there are so many ways we can fund these programs. The biggest is currently we have these giant conglomerates in tech who rely on people to have internet access, right? And the big push right now, there was a bill introduced to the Senate in November. It was called the Lowering Broadband Costs for Consumers Act of 2023. And this would reform the Universal Service Fund. And it requires the FCC to include broadband providers and what they're calling edge providers, which are our big tech companies like, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google, who contribute to access to pay into this fund for these consumers. And I think, that's a bill that's currently out there that will probably come back here when we talk about modernizing it, so I think those are great ways and continuing this conversation about why this is needed. And, when we hear this question of like, well, how are we going to fund it and who's going to fund it? Like really pushing ourselves to think creatively about that issue, because we know that there's funding out there. We know there's a way to do it. Just a matter of making sure that we make this a priority and we highlight that this is impacting hundreds of thousands of households across the country.
So is Marvin, what are the actionable items based on what Caitlin just said? Like what I'm geared up. Like what do we do? Who do we write? Who do we email? Who do we, how do we get folks actionable behind this? And then I'll go into the question for both of you.
Well, I'll say that there's the challenge is that I would, we should always be reaching out to our congressional leaders, ensuring that they're aware that this is a subject that is of value to us and importance, because remember, the more we're logged in, most likely that they're going to step into their advocacy mode there on the Hill. So that's one. Two, our state delegation has a responsibility as well to identify solutions, and potentially they can through developing some sort of subsidies or any of that sort, where we can develop that through public and private partnerships. There are a number of ways in which we could tackle this from a financial position, if that is what is on the table of concern, right? So if it's about funding it locally, I'm sure we could develop some sort of pipeline between public and private partnerships that we can combine our resources, and we could cover some of these challenges that are being faced by these 366,000 households here in Massachusetts. Then you also think about, collaborating with the state agencies and the nonprofits who are working on the ground in an effort to not only educate people, but also to afford them, tactical ways in which they can learn. Digital literacy programs need to be enhanced. That's something that doesn't get underscored. We talk a lot about infrastructure, but we're not talking about digital training. And we are so concerned about the physical element of it, that we are missing the boat on the educational side of it.
Yeah.
And that is what has made Tech Goes Home very successful, is that we've been so focused on the digital literacy piece that we've been able to make real impact in people's lives. You can give them the device. You can dig up grounds and you can put in fiber, and you can ensure that we have the broadband speed. But if someone doesn't know how to use the device effectively, if they're not sure on how to navigate the internet, they can't create a Word document to develop their resume. They cannot go and fill out an application online. You are going to continue to perpetuate this gap that has existed for some time. And I really think that at this time we have an opportunity to stretch out our interest in those categories as well, in a real effort to see this digital divide ended here in Massachusetts and beyond.
So in this next segment here, I'm delving into an interesting space, and so I know you all, any opinion that I say is my opinion and not that of Tech Goes Home. But there is a lot of action going on in advocacy and in spaces of demands for equity. And as you all were talking about this deficit, and we know that there are other spaces in which history and different things are trying to be rewritten, you just can't wonder about a notion of intentionality around this, because where you all are addressing this, we know that the most impact is in Black and Brown. And and you all correct me if I'm wrong, we have to count also the rural communities. This, inequity most demonstrates itself with Black and Brown folks and whatnot. But in this space, I would say that it's probably right around the same for folks that are in rural areas who aren't BIPOC. So let's just, name that.
Absolutely.
Information, scheduling, appointments and things like that. There's a demand for more health equity. And so I just wanted to sort of give space to just the importance of residents that you train also having the ability to get more correct, accurate information, and then also express their voice. Either one.
Yeah, I'm going to throw out 2 points, and then then Caitlin, please dive in. 65% of ACP participants, think about this, 65% fear losing their access because it could potentially have them lose their job that they have remotely at home.
So we haven't even talked about, even though a lot of folks are back at work, let's talk about a couple of days a week that people, and just as you said, to apply.
So that's income out the door. Okay. Let's think about that. Let's think about 75% who fear of losing this access because of the healthcare services that are attached, their online appointments, their prescription medicine refills, things of that nature are alarming. I'll throw another one. 81% of parents worry about their children failing school because they don't have internet access in their homes. So that means that the cell phone, they've grown from using the cell phone as their vehicle towards access, and now they have internet access. They're now going backwards with a concern that they won't have enough bandwidth attached to their cell phone in order to complete their homework assignments. Caitlin, please jump in.
Rather her than me.
No, and I think, something that isn't often talked about is, and I think Jimmy, you bring this up when we talk about inequity, a lot of even just access to broadband has to do with redlining. There's a term called, digital redlining, and because historically these communities were underinvested in, money was diverted, that also includes infrastructure. And so when we talk about even this loss of ACP, we're talking about the loss of protections. We're talking about consumers who are entitled to a certain speed. Through their plans, they're able to change their plans, and those protections go away with ACP. And we know for a fact, if you go around to a lot of neighborhoods and you actually do speed tests, the speeds that are advertised on these plans do not match up to what they're supposed to be. And that is specifically in these lower income communities that have historically been neglected and ignored. And so, Marvin's putting out these really great points, but these things go hand in hand. And so when we talk about, digital equity, we talk about other types of, inequities, like they go hand in hand. Like, it is a historic issue.
Okay. It just, I literally got the right little twitch over my eye, the headache thing coming, because just to sit here and try to analyze, you do have folks like Pam, Obi mentioned, she just talked about it on one of her videos. We know what they're doing with the equity program, and I'm sure they're looking to address this in their own way as well. In fairness, we have Danny, Marvin, when you get a chance, get in touch with brother Danny Santana. He's been trying to get in touch with you. And then also we have Angela Allen, who was naming, we were able to bring this program to the Roxbury YMCA for the seniors, and it was successful. I actually have a wait list for my next class. Our community needs this program. And so definitely agree with that. But Marvin, what I heard from you And in real time, just thinking about this in the reparations conversation, there's also the other side of redress. And with you challenging with you naming that other organizations and infrastructures can take on some of the digital literacy in their programming, that sort of help offset where there may be some gaps. You all are the leaders in the space, but you also have the ability to send a model and maybe help some other folks to ramp up in spaces where people are required to be there, in spaces where you know, they have the space and no pun intended, bandwidth to get some folks in the room and put up a couple folding chairs and you know, the tables, the folding tables and all that. And
Absolutely.
so yeah, we got to get ready to wrap up in the next couple of minutes, but I want to make sure that folks know how to get in touch with you all. And also just get information on the website. There is Tech Goes Home website, techgoeshome.org. And so with Caitlin, we'll let you close out to make sure we understand everything it is that we need to do as a community. And then Marvin, we'll let you take us home and give us the closing.
Absolutely.
Benedictory
word. Yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks, Jimmy. To kind of recap, like, please reach out to your legislators, and if you don't know how to do that, you don't know how to use your voice, like, our contact information is on our website, like, reach out to us. Like, we're more than happy to support in those. Invest in, nonprofits if you have the ability to, that are doing this work on the ground.
Right.
We need the support. We need the money. We need to be able to continue to do these types of programming, and we need to be able to elevate it. And so, if you have that ability, like, support your nonprofits that are doing this work, whether it's in Massachusetts, whether it's in, across the United States, and like, really educate yourselves on this topic, right? Like, we're going to start seeing things get quiet here in the next few months once this, like, the ACP has faded out, and we can't lose that momentum. And so if it's even just talking about it in the spaces you are in, that's huge. Education is power, right? And we want to make sure that we're still talking about these issues.
And I'll just jump in before Marvin closes us out. There are so many other things, as I mentioned, it's going on in the world. And I think sometimes I just sort of did take for granted that we're talking about those things and not understanding that there's a group of folks that may not even be aware of those things that are going on in the world.
Absolutely.
And so
absolutely. And let me underscore that real quickly. So
yes,
there's three things I want to raise. One, 71% of the 42,000 eligible households in Worcester will be impacted. 7,300 households in Lynn will be impacted. This is not a Boston circumstance. This is an entire state that is going to, in corners where there are going to be individual families who are going to be in a detrimental space shortly, as soon as this program expires. As soon as the funding dries up, we don't even have a necessarily definitive date. What I will add before we depart is that internet service providers, some of our friends have stepped up and they've created plans, and they're trying to be creative in a real effort to ensure that they can transition some families in a way that will give them the integrity and give them the hope to continue without being lagged behind. And that comes from the mere fact that they will not have to deal with some of those gaps that relates to past bills. Some of that was a very big challenge with going into the AC program. Will this be prohibited because you owe a previous bill? Some of the internet service providers out there right now are working towards mitigating those challenges for families. And so there's some real effort around that, but that's not enough. And so, as Caitlin's indicated, it's not enough. We still need the funding. We still need those resources, because the reality is that if we do not get it, we're going to have families who are sitting, we're going to go backwards. When COVID hit, there were people sitting in parking lots trying to get internet from libraries. There were families sitting in Burger King parking lots in an effort to get internet to do homework. If we do not step up at this time and make an impact and make a difference and show that we have a voice, then there are going to be 366,000 individuals in Massachusetts alone who are going to be directly impacted, who are going to be struggling, they're going to lose jobs, and we're going to look at our workforce decline and not go in the direction that we want it to go. We have to make change. We have to speak up, and we need our congressional leaders to recognize This is not about them. This is about the people on the ground facing these matters each and every day. Thank you for having us, Jimmy. We appreciate it.
Marvin and Caitlin, thank you both. Folks, don't forget, this is where you go to get all the information, to sign up for programming, to donate, to also find out and sign up to support them in the advocacy. And it just, yep. I'm going to let y'all go before I get into a whole different place of commentary. And so
Appreciate
we're
you,
going to take
man.
a quick break, and we'll be right back with you guys before we close out. Caitlin and Marvin, thank both of you for being here. We're going to tap into a different end of science here, and we'll, the platform is here. So when you need us, let us know.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, brother.
This is a farm, and this is growth. This is a brick, and this is a foundation. This is energy. This is fuel. This is a spark. And this is our Earthshot, a reboot of belief in our ability to live sustainably, an engine for enthusiasm about what's possible, and a year of generating more of the one resource we can't live without: hope.
I'm a very sensitive person, and I feel the pain of my people. They know me, they call on me, and I assure them that I'm not a provider, but I am one who cares. I always say to them, well, it's better to know than not to know, because if you know, you can do something about it. Think about the loved ones around you. Think about the ones that love seeing you come through that door. Take the step and get tested. That's it.
Save lives and get screened for colon cancer. For more information, visit boston.gov/cancer.
Hey, everyone, we're going to get ready to wrap up. Equity is needed everywhere. And I'll just leave that there because I have to get out of here. One of the other spaces that a lot of people are working on is health equity. One of the biggest ways that you can combat those that fight health equity is getting the health information you need. We want to remind you that next Saturday, May 11th, 2024, from 11 to 3 p.m. at the Thelma Burns Building in Roxbury, we will come together again for our third time in supplying information, health information to the community. All sorts of health information will be available. We're expecting between 25 and 30. The other folks are trying to squeeze in. We're expecting between 25 and 30 health and wellness providers from across the city to be with us. You must register. There is an advantage to registering early before the event, and I'm going to put that link in the comments right now. And let me explain something to you about the registration. And so for the first 100 people that register, and of that first 100 that registers, the first 50 that show up automatically get entered into a raffle for a $100 gift card from Stop and Shop. Waiting on a couple of support things now. Prayerfully, that comes through this week. Last year, we were able to give $10 gift cards just for showing up to the health fair. I think we put a time on it if you showed up before in the first half hour or something like that. I got to go back and look at the documents. But we're willing to take the investments that's made in this event and put it right back out into community. We're giving away raffles, Java with Jimmy stuff, keychains, gift cards. I'm going to randomly walk around the room and give stuff away. So plan to be a part of the Joseph R. Betancourt Health Fair, sponsored by Your Healthy Java. And we will name our other sponsors probably later on this week as well. There will be some folks there live giving information. We're not having a panel, but just some comments throughout the health fair. So please plan on coming on Saturday, May 11th, 2024, from 11 to 3 at the Thelma Burns Building. We hope to see you in the building. As we get ready to go, We also want to let you know to plan to join us tomorrow. Shout out to Brother Eric Esteves and others. He is definitely a humble brother, but I believe this was sort of a vision of his, and others went in and supported him. Tomorrow, they're coming in. Now, let me explain. They're coming in at 9:30 a.m. We will be here live tomorrow at 9 a.m. Tomorrow is the first Wednesday of the month, and the mayor was due to be here right now. She is not scheduled to be here. This is coffee hour season. However, there's a lot going on in the city right now with the protests, the law enforcement response to the protests. And so y'all know me. I'm in the admin's ear saying, hey, this is definitely a good time to make sure we hear from our mayor in a different manner that often our elected officials and leaders in legacy mainstream media don't have the ability to dig a little bit deeper like we do here with her and others. And so keep your ears and eyes open for update if the mayor is able to make it in. But at 9:30, folks from TEDx Roxbury will join us. I'm looking forward to that conversation. A couple of speakers will be here. So that's at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Don't forget the health fair as well on May 11th. Make sure you go and register and sign up. I haven't checked the numbers in the last couple of days. And so we'll look and see what's going on with that. I think that's it for me. Getting ready to get out of here. Here you go. We're Sharon Cornelius. Good to see you in the room, sis. Obi, yep, the protest on college campuses, the response to it from law enforcement. There's a lot of narratives. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people that are attempting to jump in and assert certain agendas. So yeah, I'm being so good today. Lasagna, good to see you in the room. Sharon, just let us know you're in here. Sister Debbie, good morning to you. Natasha, good morning. Pastor Marion, good morning. Jordana, good morning. Obi, good morning. Rena, Angela, good morning. Pam, Danny, good morning. Tamisha, Misha, Sister Soraya, Vaughn, what's up, brother? Good to see you in the room. I think I got everybody this morning. Let me get out of here. We may go live for a couple of minutes. We're headed down to the Hyatt Regency to host the panel that Brother Conan and Sister Helena were with us last week talking about the regional career fair that's taking place right now at the Hyatt Regency. And so let me get this. Where is the flyer, Jesus? Here is the information. I got it up yesterday, so let's see if still up here from today. That's all the health fair, Jesus. All right, let's get the link up here for the, oh shoot. Hold on. I want to do it for me. All right, I think I got it. Copy. Here is the link if you want to make your way down to the Hyatt Regency for the career fair that they're doing. I think I got the link right. I don't know if it's going to hyper. Hold on. Let me make sure. I'm going to go to it, copy it, and make sure it hypers in the comments. So here we go. We're doing the opening panel down there with some folks of color that are general managers and leadership in the hospitality industry here in Boston. So we're looking forward to doing that. So if you're looking to get into the career, come down to the Meet Boston event and you can sign up here. And Brother Obi, I'll see you down there shortly. And that's it for me. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. And Lord Jesus, TEDx Roxbury will be with us in the 9:30 hour. Everybody have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.